A very good morning from Canada, Montreal. Welcome to today's international seminar. We have a very important matter to discuss. We have a panel of illustrious guests with us. We have with us um, Mr. Jamal Hassan. He's an author, free speech activist, and also security analyst. He's in Virginia, USA, Maryland,
Uh,
USA.
Maryland, yes. Thank you.
Sorry. Welcome to the show, Mr. Jamal Hassan.
You're most welcome. Professor.
We have also Major Muhammad Ali, retired. He hails from an illustrious family of armed forces officers, and he is also himself a political leader in Bangladesh. His father was a valiant freedom fighter as well. Mr. Muhammad Ali, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have Mr. Aman Uddin, a free speech activist, and he is also a researcher. Mr. Aman Uddin is well known in social media. Mr. Amanuddin is in England. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mufasil Islam, for inviting me to your platform.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Lastly, but not the least, we have our special guest today, Mr. Ahmed Shah Duranai. Mr. Ahmed Shah Duranai is an Afghan Canadian best-selling author, public speaker, educator, architect, and a project manager. He is the CEO and head coach of Toronto-based Duranet Enterprises Inc., providing services, leadership communication skills, high performance team dynamics, and personal development. Founding member of Afghanistan International Peace Institute, focused on Afghanistan peace research and policy recommendations, and member of the Afghan Association of Ontario, providing immigration and settlement services. Welcome to the show, Mr. Duranai.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Um, we have, as I said, a very important topic to discuss today. Our topic, as you know, today is the Afghan crisis. Will Pakistan invade Afghanistan? Future of the Taliban. The reason for bringing up this issue today, because we are all concerned about what's going on in Afghanistan, along with the border of Pakistan. And as Bangladesh, especially, we have most of our audience are from Bangladesh and South Asia. As we have long history of connections with Afghani brothers and sisters, and also with our Pakistani friends, the problem might spill over, as I understand. So the matter needs to be discussed frankly by our social media platforms, because we might not get the real picture from mainstream media all the time. Mr. Jamal Hassan, please take away and enlighten us about what's going on. What do you think about the prospects of the title that I just gave?
I personally, in this context, I'm not an alarmist, and I want to downplay the the narrative that we are going to discuss today. Uh, Afghanistan and Pakistan historically had a love and hate relationship. But anyway, before I start that, we should remind the audience that one of the Pakistani leaders, former president, army strongman Parvez Musharraf, passed away today in Dubai. He was 79. Parvez Musharraf also played a pivotal role in Pakistan's Afghanistan policy. And under his watch, we saw Taliban grew, and obviously 9/11 happened. And we can recollect our U.S. Foreign Minister or U.S. Secretary of State Colin Powell warned him, if you do not disentangle with the Taliban, we will turn your country into Stone Age. That threat worked. That threat really worked. Ultimately, Mr. Parvez Musharraf and his successors played juggling role. So when we talk about if whether Pakistan will invade Afghanistan or will not invade, I think it's not a question will not or will it ever invade. It's already very much into Afghanistan territory, Pakistan, if you say intelligence apparatus and everything. We have to go back to the history that how this current situation emancipated current. I'm talking about the current, the present status quo. Taliban rule started. It was a very big failure of uh, successive U.S. administrations. I'm talking about both the Trump and Biden administrations. I lived in Doha for a I can say almost a year. And when I was in Qatar, I was very much aware there was a embassy of Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan. The Taliban had, you can say, a government in exile, and their embassy was hosting their flag in Doha. Qatar was a U.S. ally, and we had a big Air Force base, Army base, of course. But Qatar used to play always double game. On the one hand, Qatar helped U.S. policy in the Middle East, especially in the Persian Gulf and many and adjacent areas. On the other hand, Qatar became the grazing ground of Muslim Brotherhood and different global Islamist groups. Now, we have, the Americans, we listen to Zalmay Khalilzad. Who is Zalmay Khalilzad? He is an Afghan American. He was a student, exchange student in USA, and ultimately he became a US citizen, and he used to work with the RAND Corporation. Mufassili, if you like to remember, RAND Corporation is always a right-leaning, more Republican-leaning think tank. I used to follow Zalmay Khalilzad, I can say, since 1996, 97. He used to come to ABC News Nightline, and I knew he was a right-winger. I knew he could be a darling of all the Republicans. Yes, he was. He was under different Republican administrations. He was an ambassador to Iraq, and he worked with the U.S. State Department. And he was given the big responsibility in negotiating with the Taliban in Doha. What he did, very disappointing. He was, I can say, he was sold out to Taliban. Either he believed knowingly or unknowingly, he gave all the cards to Taliban. Taliban played games that, of course, we will not do anything, blah, blah, blah. We will not hinder any Western interest. We will help the women in their emancipation. We will be modern. We are not the old Taliban of 2001. Unfortunately, these Taliban did not change the color. They are the same. And as you say, Mr. Mufassal Islam, you see how the women are treated. You saw how Ayman al-Zawahiri was given shelter in Kabul in broad daylight. Now, going back to that Zawahiri case, it was told in Western circles, it was almost open secret that Pakistani government played a crucial role in helping to attack that particular area in Kabul with US drone. So US intelligence in cahoot with the Western intelligence helped wipe out Mr. Zawahiri from Kabul. Now, remember Amrullah Saleh, who another individual I'm bringing is Amrullah Saleh has been becoming sick and tired. He is one of the leaders of Northern Alliance. He's an Afghan, son of the soil. And he, in a recent TV interview, he said that he talked about the Doha talks. I'm talking about Doha in Qatar. He said Doha talks legitimized the Taliban. I agree 100% with Mr. Amrullah Saleh. Now, Mr. Islam, we talk about West, East, West, America, Western power, Afghanistan, but we should not forget the original sin committed by the Russians or the Soviets. We have to remember that if Soviets did not play games installing Taraki, Sardar Muhammad Daoud, and all the pro-Soviet one after another coup, counter coup, and I'm talking about after the overthrow of King Zaisha, the Soviets were playing dirty game in Afghanistan. Soviets probably thought that Afghanistan would have become another Uzbekistan or Kyrgyzstan or Tajikistan, former Soviet republics. Because remember, in those countries, Mufassal Islam, remember in those countries, now independent countries, which is still under Soviet domain, those social engineering worked very well. In those countries, the religiosity has diminished. But you have to remember a history. In 1876, entire Uzbekistan fell under Russian rule. So Uzbekistan had a history of Soviet domination. Kyrgyzstan, 1936 to 1991, was a Soviet republic. Same with Tajikistan. Tajikistan became a Soviet republic in 1929. I'm bringing these three countries because they are almost neighboring or adjacent countries of Afghanistan. They have more or less similar ethnic roots, you can say. And of course, Afghanistan has many Tajiks in the northern side. But what I'm saying, what was possible in Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, or Kyrgyzstan, if you want to say diminishing the ultra-Orthodox religious sector, diminishing there, and bringing a kind of secular, less religious young generation one after another. This could have been possible, but remember the years, many years under Soviet domination, under Soviet tanks, that was possible. When Soviets invaded Afghanistan in 1979 and they brought tanks, they probably thought, oh, we could make it another Uzbekistan or Tajikistan. Mr. Taraki, if you remember, is one of the former leaders under Soviet, you can say, pro-Soviet, you can say. He tried to make the country atheist. You can go to any research papers and you see how Taraki tried to make Afghanistan atheist country. It didn't help. It doesn't help in 1 day or 2 days. But on the other hand, yes, I can say, I don't want to be devil's advocate. If there was no West, if there was no NATO, if there was no USA, if there was only Soviet Union, remember, Afghanistan probably would be another protectorate or another satellite country of Soviet Union today. Mm-hmm. But Mr. Islam, you sarcastically said to me, "Who created the jihad?" And I said, "I will keep mum, I will keep mum, and I would not speak."
Right.
You said,
right.
But we know that in order to combat the communism, we had to create Mujahideen and all this. But it helped because when you bring God into the equation, sometimes it works very well. Right. That's my 2 cents.
I will take our viewers back to something which I've come across, if I may, which is in fact a letter that you wrote to. Sorry, let me see if I can show it. Give me a second. Okay. Sharing. Sorry.
It's in your WhatsApp also.
Yes, yes. I'm coming to that. It is playing up with me a bit system, but I'll come to that. Give me a second.
Sometimes computer X funny.
Which is this one, as you can probably all see.
Oh yeah, I can see that in the bottom. If you can enlarge that, yeah.
It's a letter that you wrote in 1989, Afghanistan crisis and the relevant geopolitical realities. You wrote it to the then Senator Joe Biden, the now President of the United States of America.
Yeah, I can see in the bottom right. Yeah, right. Yeah.
What were we telling them?
Actually, I wrote that article in 1989. It was in a print form. It was not in at the time. It was not in the cyberspace. I actually circulated the letter to even White House, to the then First Lady Barbara Bush, Father Bush's wife, Barbara Bush.
Right.
I sent to many congressmen and many academicians.
Mm-hmm.
My logic was that after the Soviets left, that America should not abandon Afghanistan. I knew because I also tried to make a connection with the Taliban, with the 1971's Jamaat-e-Islami of East Pakistan. And I want to say that they are birds of the same feather, actually. Birds with the same feather. They were same Islamist, and they are South Asians. They are totalitarian, bloodthirsty, fundamentalist groups. And I wanted to say it was unfortunate that Jamaat-e-Islami played a pro-West role at the time, because during Bangladesh Liberation War, America and Soviet Union in the two rival camps, and Soviet Union, India supported Bangladesh War, Liberation War, and America and many other Western countries didn't support it. So similarly, the Taliban were the successors of Mujahideens. And I said, yes, USA, but what happened? Many, that I am telling you again, Mufasil, because unfortunately many of the US policymakers, they are always, they believe in short-term gains. But in that during that time, they were jumping. They were in cloud 9 when Russians left. But I learned. I mean, in this article, I actually alerted the policymakers that please don't be so happy. You have to deal with the fundamentalists today or tomorrow. So that's why I wanted to say that in my article also I gave the proposal, bring Zahisha in the equation. Do you know, Mufasil, what happened? They brought Zahisha after damage has been done. A lot of water has been flown into Ganges and Turak River, whatever you call it. But by the time, it was not time. Zahisha came to Afghanistan, but
Right.
he didn't have much of relevance. So anyway, this article, if anybody in U.S. administration could listen to me, please, they could have some kind of footprint in Afghanistan, for example, little base or anything.
Right.
Then Taliban would not come to power in 2001. Remember, or there would not be 9/11 if 1989 America would have been more proactive. That was my thesis.
Right. Thank you very much. Coming back to the issue of today, Mr. Duranai, do the Talibans have any valid claim to any part of Pakistan?
Can you say that question again?
Do the Talibans, even the TTP,
Yeah.
do they have any valid claim to any territory now within Pakistan which they think should belong to Afghanistan legitimately?
First of all, I want to thank you for allowing me to come here and express my opinion on certain issues. Second, I want to send my greetings to all your viewers for this program. I would like to say that and I want to have a disclaimer also that you mentioned that I belong to this group or that group, etc. Today, I'm not talking on behalf of those groups. I'm just expressing my own opinion.
That's fine.
And my opinion is not siding with one side or another, but more as an academic. So that will be my position.
Mm-hmm.
I think what happened in August of 2021 in Afghanistan will have ripple effects in different parts of the Middle East and in different parts of South Central Asia. The thing is, to look at it from a geopolitical perspective, there is a world order that is in the process of changing and evolving. There was after the Iraqi first invasion by the United States, there was a one superpower in the world. And now the geopolitical situation is changing. There is no more one superpower in the world. And all these countries in the Middle East and South Central Asia is going through a kind of a turmoil to adjust to this new situation. As such, I will just bring historically the fact that when Muhammad Raza, the first king of the Pahlavi dynasty in Iran, did not side with what the time the international order was, they came and they removed him. They sent him to exile to South Africa and brought his teenage son to become the king. When the king, Muhammad Raza Shah, became so powerful that he started advising the West of how they should structure their policies around the world and in the Middle East, they invited Khomeini to Paris and mobilized him to get rid of him also. So, and now similar situation happens. So this issue of regime change coming in one country or another in the developing world, in the third world, is not something new. It has to abide by the rules of how the international geopolitical situation is developing. What happens in Afghanistan now with the Tehrik-e-Taliban taking over control, or what they refer to as the de facto government in Afghanistan, and their affiliates in other parts of the world, also have to grapple with this situation. As we know, the Islamic Emirate has this challenge of recognition. It doesn't have a mechanism to get internal recognition, and it doesn't have the political clout to get external recognition. Meanwhile, I would look at it based on certain observations that I have through my studies. There is going to be some changes in this whole geography. I'm not sure if you are familiar, but there was an American retired colonel with the name of Ralph Peters. In 2000, August 2003, he wrote an article, and then in 2006, it was published in the United States Armed Forces Journal. It was called The Blood Borders, and it had the current map of the area, and it had the map that what he thought was that the current map was based on paper, between the French and the British, who decided that the actual map should be like this. And then at that time, there was also Tommy Franks, I think you will recall. He was the chief of staff, the general chief of staff of the U.S. Armed Forces. He was questioned in U.S. Congress, and what he was saying to one of the answers, not in his official report, but one of his answers, he was saying that what the United States is doing in Afghanistan and Iraq is to support and to protect the interests of the United States for the next 100 to 150 years. Excuse me. So when I put that map together with what Tommy Frank was saying, I get a different picture of the whole situation. And that is that the borders in the Middle East that were drawn by the British and the French was a source of divisions. And the political divisions in the Middle East were reflected through those borders. And there was an attempt to unite these people to create a critical mass of geography and resources and population so they can resist kind of exploitation by other superpowers. In order to prevent it, then this new map came into being, and in Iraq, they almost implemented it when the ISIS came, because that map shows that there will be a Sunni Iraq, and there will be a smaller Syria and the Shiite Iraq, and there will be a Kurdish country, and then Saudi Arabia will be divided into three parts, and what will happen? And all that map, I think everybody here will be familiar with it. That map was about to be implemented, but it was delayed because if it was implemented so early, then it will not protect the interests of the United States for the next 150 years. The interests of the West or of any other superpower is protected when there is what I refer to, and the military people here might say, might either agree with me or not, but it is controlled instability. Controlled instability and asymmetrical warfare. And that situation will continue for decades to come. That is the plan. That is the idea of the United States is trying to implement in the Middle East and in South Central Asia.
If I may interfere,
Yeah.
Or interrupt, Mr. Duranai.
Go ahead.
You're talking about, if you talk about the mapping of the whole geography, history says that if you go back to 1879, the Treaty of Gandamark, right, that treaty was in fact drawn up under circumstances where the then Afghan leaders were not, for example, Muhammad Yaqub Khan. He was not in any position to negotiate or even claim his valid claims.
Yeah.
Because but that was preceded by Russians visiting without invitation to Afghanistan. And later on, the British went there, asked for a resounding welcome, which obviously Muhammad Yaqub Khan didn't offer. He was driven out, and the map that was drawn at that time, for my viewers, by no means that map did any justice to the Afghan people.
I agree with you 100%. The thing is that the maps are made by the superpowers doesn't mean that they will succeed in implementing them.
If I may interrupt again, that map was also not in accordance with the communal demography of that geography.
Yeah.
So if you go back to the history of, even the Punjabis, where the Punjabis are concentrated mainly, because if I remember that Pashtos form 18% of total Pakistani population.
Yeah.
And the rest are mainly Punjabis, whereas Afghanistan has over 40% of Pashtos of their population.
Well, I would rather, I don't necessarily agree with in Afghanistan, there has never been any census taken that will say it's all estimated.
What is the other major ethnicity, Mr. Duranai, who are more, do you think, in number than Pashtos?
Yeah, what I would say is that in Pakistan, there are about 45 million Pashtuns. And in Afghanistan, there are over 22 million Pashtuns.
But it's not a question of numbers only. It's a question of a country where the population belongs to a certain ethnicity.
Yeah.
Or, if you consider Afghanistan and Pakistan, even now,
yeah,
in Afghanistan, the Pashtos are the biggest community.
Yeah, it's the majority. Let's put it this way. It's 55 to 60%.
For the least.
Yeah.
But again, when it comes to Pakistan, they're significant minority.
Yeah, it's 18% of the population.
Significant minority. So if you go back to the history, even before 1879, if you go for Pashto, Pashto land, and before that the Baloch land and all that, in the history, it shows that even the Sikh Empire, if you go to the Sikh Empire, that was mainly concentrated in the Punjab-dominated areas. But this map, which in fact after even 1947, when Indian subcontinent
Yeah.
got divided,
Yeah.
Afghanistan, which in fact came to existence in 1919, to be honest, in the political
Yeah.
international law. So they objected vehemently against the creation of the map of today's Pakistan.
Well, yes, I understand and I agree with you, because the Durand line wasn't considered to be an international line. It was considered to be an internal administrative line,
Yes.
where the area of influence of the Afghan rulers of the time will be, and where the influence of the British government in India will be. It was at that time Afghanistan was still under the influence of the British, in terms of the boundaries of the British Empire were not on the Durand line.
The British subjugated
Yeah,
the Sikh leaders, the Sikh king,
yeah,
Gulab Shah, and then they took the Kohinoor. Now coming to the Durand line, as you mentioned, the Durand line again was something which deliberately cut through the then Afghanistan. Now they have this Indus River, which should have
yes.
should have originally part of it,
The Indus River should have been the natural boundary.
natural boundary, and the Baluch were never part of Punjabis. Now, if my question is, being a neutral researcher as you are, that what sort of claim Punjabis should have historically to this part which should belong to Afghanistan?
So there are, so looking at it from an academic perspective, the what they call, the French call it the raison d'être. The reason for being for Pakistan is a country that is based on Islam. There is no other thing that can unite the four major ethnic groups in Pakistan together. And when Bangladesh was part of Pakistan, East Pakistan, there was no other reason that they be part of Pakistan except the religion of Islam. And in my opinion, what the British did at that time, where they created two entities in this part of the world that were based on religion. One was Israel and one was Pakistan.
Mhm.
So that the whole area can be exploited later on as a result. And as we see it, this is what is happening. So I agree with you that the thing is, your topic is whether Pakistan will invade
Yes, so
Afghanistan.
we're trying to find whether there's a valid reason that Taliban's have which might prompt the Pakistanis to attack in the name of defending their own territory. Is there a percept for that? Is there a
So currently, the Taliban position is that the issue of the Durand line is not the issue of the governments; it's the issue of the people. And when the people decide to eliminate it, it will be gone. And when the people on both sides decide to get rid of it, it will be gone, or they will keep it.
right?
That is the official position.
Even if we read about the life of Habatullah Akhundzadeh, if I'm pronouncing the name right, I do apologize.
Yeah,
But even if we read his life, he was living in Pakistan. He was educating himself in Pakistan, in Baluch. So the question is, today's TTP and Afghanistan Taliban, although they fought on some occasions in the past, but they also had a sort of truce when the Americans were there. Now the question comes: the TTP is obvious, no matter what the Doha agreement was. They have historic connections with Afghanistan Taliban, including the present supreme leader was educated and living inside Pakistan. So if there is a possibility that ISI can think there's a possibility that they may patch up together at some point. And we are also already seeing spillover of the condition in Bangladesh even. When the Chittagong Hill tracks, we see rise of Islamist extremist terrorists. Many of them get their impetuses from Islamist groups like Hefazat-e-Islam, who are extremist groups, obviously, and they have long connection with Afghan Taliban. There's a rise of Wahhabism there. As you know, Taliban are following sort of Wahhabism, Salafism.
That's not true. The Wahhabi school is completely different. If I might just put my perspective on,
Yes, sure.
on what it is that the Islamic world is now divided into 4 different distinct schools of thought.
Mhm.
There is the Qum school, which is the Shiites follow the Qum school, whether they are in Lebanon or they are in Iraq or they are in
Yeah.
Iran or wherever else the Shiites they follow. Then there is the Azhar school, which is in Egypt, where the Ikhwan al-Muslimin generally get their inspiration from there, and where Sayyid Jamaluddin Afghani was one of the proponents of that school of thought.
Yes.
Then there is the Najd school, where the Wahhabis get their inspiration from, which is predominant in Saudi Arabia and in the GCC countries. And then there is the Deoband school of thought.
Yes.
And so in this respect, the Taliban are more inclined to the Deoband school of thought.
But wasn't that the case, though? Because, for example, even Hathazari Madrasa of Bangladesh, which is quite prominent, even their proponents were usually belonging to mostly a Hanafi understanding of Islam, but they have sort of almost in the process of alienating themselves from there. And there is, as our researchers also show, there is an influx of Wahhabi ideology penetrating inside even other doctrines of Islam, Islamic who are trying to have some political power, some sort of. But regardless of that, the fact remains that there is a connection of Taliban connection with Afghanistan, with Afghan Taliban connection with Bangladesh Hefazat-e-Islam is well documented. So my understanding is, if Taliban, what is Taliban trying to do? Is Taliban trying to take over only a part of Pakistan, or they are trying to have an Islamic caliphate? And if under both the circumstances, will not the ISI suggest that it is about time to take the challenge of Taliban's, even TTPs, into serious action? Because behind the creation, I don't know whether you will agree with me, even behind the existence of Taliban today, even behind the existence of Mujahideen in history, Pakistan had serious role to play.
Pakistan definitely played a major role in creating various political movements. They also benefited financially a lot from it, because all those groups served certain interests of what I refer to as the international order. So there was a lot of material gains in that respect. Taliban officially or even unofficially have never said that they have territorial ambitions outside Afghanistan, especially the Afghan Taliban. Having said that, they do want where the Islamic Sharia, as per their interpretation, be implemented everywhere in the Muslim world. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, that their success in Afghanistan most probably will create ripple effects in other parts. If their influence is can be measured anyway, is through the ripple effects. In Pakistan, the TTP, obviously, a big portion of them have had their allegiance to Mullah Hibatullah Akhundzada. But I'm not sure how much influential he is in this respect to rein it, because he cannot order people in such a way that, okay, stop fighting because of XYZ. He has to keep those people who are following him ideologically happy. Otherwise, his authority will be challenged.
Right. I will come back to you, Mr.
Mhm.
Duranai. I will go to Mr. Major Muhammad Ali, retired Major Muhammad Ali now. Mr. Muhammad Ali, could you please unmute your microphone, please? Thank you. As you have heard, all the gentlemen talking about the perspectives of Taliban. Mr. Duranai said Taliban didn't make any claim to any of the territories of Pakistan, but we can also see some terrorist attacks inside Pakistan. I mean, these terrorist attacks have obviously the precepts of um, establishing Islamic doctrine or Islamist doctrine, rather, which is obviously nowadays we are thinking, we hear about a caliphate, possible caliphate, and all that, which might might have a ripple effect all over. Now, do you think there is any chance, as an army officer yourself, do you think there is any chance of Pakistan going militarily against Taliban? And if they do, will the Pakistan get international support? Because I think USA already has said Pakistan has the right for self-defense.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thanks for allowing me to talk over and discuss in this seminar, and all with my respected learned people and the dear audience. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before starting, I just want to look at the subject itself, the Afghan crisis. Will Pakistan invent Afghanistan? No need. No need. Why to invent Afghanistan? Already, it's my understanding. I may be wrong. You may have other opinions. Already, Pakistan is having full control over Afghanistan. So no need to invent unnecessarily. Number one. Number two, as you told, that what is going to do Pakistan is no. Pakistan will never invent Afghanistan. Basically, I want to highlight in today's discussion what is the people's view of Bangladeshi people about Afghanistan, especially the Taliban's, because it's very. Just I am going to start my discussion with the international national media, that is from Independent TV. It was telecast on 2021, 16 August. Just listen, then I will tell it in English.
আফগানিস্তানে তালেবানদের সাথে যোগ দিতে কিছু বাংলাদেশি আফগান যুদ্ধে অংশ নিয়েছেন বলে জানান ডিএমপি কমিশনার। তবে এদের সাথে ভারতের কলকাতায় গ্রেপ্তার হওয়া জঙ্গিদের কোনো সম্পর্ক নেই বলেও দাবি তার। কমিশনার আরো জানান, অনলাইনে অপপ্রচার চালিয়ে উদ্বুদ্ধ করা হচ্ছে অনেককেই।
There is a news. Our police arrested a few people, those who went to Afghanistan for war, because it's very unfortunate. Our few religious scholars, the war inside the Afghan crisis, they declare or they delivered speech like that is a Islamic religious war, or you have to go for established Khilafat, Sharia, and blah 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 blah. So for that reason, the young generation, those especially those who are reading in madrasa in our Bangladesh, like Pakistan and India, especially the Bangladeshi guys, they are motivated and they went to Afghanistan for religious war. They want to become Shahadat, or they were going to go to heaven by sacrificing their life. They're very unfortunate. But I am just giving information that government is very much strong and determined about these issues. Government is not no way allowing anyone. If you see the last 1 week or 2 week, a few madrasa students were missing from their area for 3 months. Then government launched operation in the hill tracks, and they found they are taking military training over there. and you have seen in the media also. Regarding the Afghanistan crisis, people of Bangladesh have sympathy, little bit, due to the religious reason. But maximum, the moderate people, the learned people, they are not supporting these Taliban people.
Why not?
Because
Why not?
no, because suppose Bangladeshi military guys, being an ex-military personnel, no military personnel is supporting Taliban.
Now the
No
question
way.
comes to me, if you bring that up, Mr. Ali, the question comes: is the Taliban's fought the Americans?
Yeah,
No matter what,
they
how,
fought against Russia also.
I mean, no matter how we look at it, the fact remains the Talibans fought the Americans, the British. They may have whatever purposes, but
Russian also. They
Yeah.
fought against Russian also.
they were in power before they were toppled for whatever reason. Now, is there or was there any stronger military or even group to remove foreigners or foreign power from their land? And I don't know of any stronger power. So the Talibans, you may dislike them, or I may disapprove of their ways, their extremism, but the fact remains they are the ones who freed their country of foreign military powers.
Yeah.
So even if you don't like their ways, but you have to, I mean, even the Afghanistan, I don't know, Mr.
Now,
Duran,
do you know why from Britishers to Americans, Russians, all the superpower in the world could not invent
that is
Afghanistan?
because I think one of the main reason was obviously it's a mountainous country, but the other
Yes.
other reason is that whenever a foreign power attacks Afghanistan, I have seen from my research, the fighters or the freedom fighters, if you want to call them, they will move to Pakistan. They will hide in
Yes.
Pakistan because obviously
Yes. Yes. Of course.
invade Pakistan, and they will be fighting from inside. Because you see, even Mullah Umar, the founder of
Yes.
Taliban,
Yes.
died in Karachi in 2013.
Yes. Correct.
And then Pakistan president confirmed that.
Correct.
He was residing inside Pakistan when he was on the most wanted list.
Even Osama bin Laden also, no?
So the question comes that if without Pakistan,
Yes.
Afghanistan of today, will it be so, I mean, so valiant of fighters to prove that,
No,
whoever
basically, Afghanistan fighters,
Hmm.
Afghanistan fighters, they have they are taking the advantage of Pakistan territory.
Yes.
They are taking the advantage of Pakistani territory because
Mhm.
because you have to go through the history. If you go through the history, this Taliban regime, the word Taliban itself, where this come from? Basically, Taliban, they have established this the word and the organization from Pakistani madrasas in the hill track in the Afghan border. So
1994, yes.
yeah. So basically, they have the territorial advantage. That's why even Pakistani, I will not say in the Pakistani defense, they gave training. They gave initially.
Yes.
They gave training. They established the Taliban fighters. Afterwards, now Pakistan. What should I say? What they will do? I don't know what is their policies regarding the
But
Taliban. Again,
internationally, Taliban obviously will not get more support than Pakistan. That's for sure. Whatever
Yes.
Pakistan takes action.
Yes.
And if they do, again, my question comes again. Isn't the Taliban, or aren't the Talibans on both sides patriots? That's one thing. And don't they already have in their credit of removing superpowers from their country? So they are valiant freedom fighters in that respect. So if they're valiant freedom fighters, then they deserve the respect of running their country.
fighting in a war and running a country is totally
Yes.
different issues.
Right. So let's
And-
go to Doha Agreement. If you go to
Okay.
Doha Agreement, in the Doha Agreement, the Americans had an understanding with the Taliban leader
Yeah.
that they will obviously bring in all sides to run the country. But isn't that a way of telling a country how to run their own affairs?
No, that is
Well,
you are
first of all, you created a map in 1879, right? First of all, the British did that because they were worried about the Russians. Now you created a map which always Afghanistan objected, and they objected even at the UN, even after 1947, even they fought several times, 1950s, 60s, even 70s, they fought several times against Pakistan. Now the question comes, it's not nothing new. These skirmishes are happening all the time, more or less. Now, the map was drawn by British. Now the Americans are saying, after 20 years, in Doha Agreement, that, you know what, okay, I'm leaving your country, but we'll tell you how to run your country. Because 1971, after Bangladesh liberation, after, Bangladesh, Awami League took power,
1971. Yeah.
yes, after 71, when 72 we had a new country. Imagine what happened in our parliament members. Awami League found some handful of members of parliaments who were not 100% devoted to our liberation cause, and they lost their member of parliament posts, right? You know this history, your father knows very well. So if that's the case, if Taliban think they are the ones who liberated the country, there are certain elements and groups they don't want to engage with. What is the problem?
Basically, only we have to wait for the history, because I don't know, possibly 2 years left, huh? 2 or 3 years. Taliban case,
Yes.
2 years.
2 years. Well, not even 2 years now, anyway.
Yeah, we have to wait for I think more 5 years to get the result. Number one.
What
Number
sort of
two,
result are you expecting?
the result, whether the Taliban will continue or success, or they will start with civil war, or
They're
any other
already doing
point,
things
any
which
other.
they're already doing things which are going against the Doha Agreement. They're already doing it.
Of course, of course. Or they agree. They did agreement with Doha only for the removing the U.S. force. That's it. Very simple. Now they will try to do other things. But you see, Bangladesh. I'm connected with the Bangladesh and Afghanistan, because our 90% people are Muslim.
Mhm.
They have a little bit sympathy. Of course, I should as a Muslim, but they Bangladeshi people never ever support the Sharia ain. The way they are giving embargo on the women education, the way they are giving embargo on the women enrollment in the working in the different sector as a teacher also. Bangladesh people nowhere supporting this, and Bangladeshi one NGO. This is a renowned NGO in Bangladesh, the BRAC. They are working from 2002. Still, they're in Afghanistan NGO, and they're working very good. And we had a very good relation, not with the Taliban, also not also bad also. Bangladeshi embassy, we don't have any embassy over there. Bangladeshi government is connecting. They're from Uzbekistan. From Uzbekistan, they're performing the embassy duty in Afghanistan. Basically, the subject: will Pakistan invade Afghanistan?
Why not?
Already done.
So
No
it's already
need.
done in a way, you were saying. So
Already done.
Right.
Have you ever seen? Have you with a small little uh, example or deviation? Can you show a single major example where Afghan or Taliban government didn't listen Pakistani?
Okay, now again, coming to that, if that's the case, don't the Talibans have the idea of taking out Pakistani regime as well from parts of their internal affairs? Because there is a serious resentment against Pakistan by many of the scholars against Pakistan's interference inside Afghanistan. There's a serious public resentment against Pakistan's continuing intervention or continuing interference inside the affairs of Afghanistan. If that's the case, if the Taliban think it's about time we take out Pakistan's interference as well, and the ISI don't they have any reason to believe there's a serious resentment inside Afghanistan against Pakistan, so it's about time we should take this matter head on. And even the UN Charter will agree that a country has the right for self-defense if there's a terrorist threat or a threat to the sovereignty. So there are legal premises already there for Pakistan to invade. And America very clearly said Pakistan has the right of self-defense. So if taking into all that, they will not, because there will be public outcry of if there's a continuing threat of terrorist attacks, one after another. 100 people dead in a mosque, 20 people died on a street on a bomb blast, and Pakistan is continually saying this is from Afghanistan. This is from Afghanistan. So they already have the premise of taking them out, and there will be a public pressure on the Pakistan government to address this issue, because hundreds of people are dying from terrorist attacks. Who are doing it?
That's why I told you. That's why I told you we have to wait for more 3 years. Let Taliban rule their own country for 5 years. Durrani bhai, am I correct?
Right. Okay. Let's go to our other guest here, Mr. Aman Uddin. Mr. Aman Uddin, please unmute your microphone. And
thank you, Mr. Mufassil Islam.
The question comes to you. I mean, aren't the Taliban's freedom fighters?
To me?
Yes, I'm asking you.
This is a
regardless of their views.
Okay. Before I go on discussion, I have to say something first. I got my point down. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have to go by the point, and I have to discuss about the two parts of your title. Number one, the Afghan crisis. Number two, will Pakistan invade Afghanistan? Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if anybody asks me, are Afghan people a freedom fighter? Then I have
the Taliban.
Taliban. Then I have to define the word freedom fighter. I have to find out what's the meaning of freedom fighters. Right? Bangladesh liberated Bangladesh, East Pakistan, former East Pakistan from West Pakistan, and Bangladesh was liberated by our freedom fighters. So I think Major Muhammad Ali was one of the freedom fighters.
Father.
Sorry?
His father.
Oh, his father. So his father was a freedom fighter. So he definitely knows what does the freedom fighter means. You said, are Taliban are freedom fighters? From whom Taliban liberated Afghanistan from?
From the Americans, from the British, and before that, when the Mujahideens, they liberated Afghanistan from Russians.
Okay, well, if Russia was invited,
last America also.
Okay, yes. If Russia was invited in America by, not America, Afghan people. Yeah. So how do you say Taliban were freedom fighters?
When you say invited, what do you mean by invitation?
My Afghani people.
Afghani people never invited any foreign power in their land ever. You may say some governments did take, Najibullah even took some help from the Soviets, but they never sacrificed their freedom.
Freedom fighter means.
In fact, the worst treaty. The Treaty of Gandamak in 1879 resulted in a bloodshed of the British in 1880, 1 year after that, for this humiliating treaty. Am I right, Mr. Duranai? It transpired into a bloodshed 1 year immediately after this Duranai agreement treaty. In the British bloodshed, the British were killed, slaughtered. Am I right?
Yeah, there were 16,000 British troops that were ambushed. And only Dr. Bryden survived.
Afghani people never in history invited any foreign power to come and rule them.
Okay, can I say something, Mr. Mufasil Islam? If you call them freedom fighter,
Why not?
there is a valid reason for calling them freedom fighter, because some, I'm not saying, I'm not making any comment or statement on whether they are freedom fighter or not. This is my completely different opinion, but I got the feelings that some people try to call them freedom fighter to justify their all other things that are not accepted.
No, because even after Bangladesh Liberation War, we have been joined by Mr. Rajak Hawladar, who is he was a freedom fighter, valiant freedom fighter, 1971 Bangladesh Liberation War. He will give his comments soon. But even he knows much better than any of us know about Bangladesh Liberation War. I'm sure he will say there were many freedom fighters who went rogue after Bangladesh liberation. They went against even the founding father of Bangladesh. But that doesn't mean they were not liberation.
Okay, Mufasil Islam, Mr. Mufasil Islam, even though they are freedom fighters, as you say, or as other people say, it doesn't mean that their all activities are
The
accepted.
question was, are they freedom fighters?
I'm not answering this question.
Why not?
I think the Taliban themselves do not call themselves as freedom fighters. They call themselves as mujahideen.
Mr. Durunai, sir, do they have to call themselves freedom fighters?
They don't call themselves. The thing is that in today's world, one person's terrorist is another person's freedom fighter, and vice versa.
Mr. Duranai made it clear.
Let me tell you an example from Palestine.
Yes.
So the Hamas people who are trying to free themselves from the Israeli, whatever you call them, apartheid or subjugation or domination or whatever, they are called terrorists by most of the Western world and by Israel. But the Palestinians call them freedom fighters.
Mm-hmm.
The PLO was established based on all those freedom fighters for Palestinians, but the Israelis always call them terrorists. So it's a slippery slope considering who is a freedom fighter and who is not a freedom fighter.
But even the King David bombing, as you bring up Palestine,
we don't agree on the definitions. I mean, it depends how you define a freedom fighter.
Okay.
In Bangladesh war, for example, the war of liberation, General Niazi didn't give his pistol to a Bangladeshi general. He gave it to an Indian general, General Aurora.
Yeah.
He surrendered to India, not to Bangladesh. Right, historically speaking. When you look at
can I say something to contribute to Mr. Durrani's statement about freedom, the definition of freedom fighter? Thank you, Mr. Durrani. You made it clear to us. Okay.
No, 1 second, Mr. Amaluddin. 1 second. Now, coming to that, I must clarify the reason why the surrender was made to Indian general is because our head of our liberation war at that time, our battalion, Mehmeji Osmani, was not being able to attend there because his helicopter had went down. So that was one of the reasons. But anyway, we don't know whether India had anything to play with.
Okay.
But coming to the issue of Amaluddin, I think we haven't found a straightforward answer, Mr. Uddin.
Now, I'm going to give you the answer now. I got the point. Mr. Duranai help me out with this answer. Thank you, Mr. Duranai. Shukriya. Tashakkur. Okay. Now, the definition of freedom fighter, we have to find out on the point of the view of Taliban. We have to go for this based on the definition of Taliban. We have to find out how Taliban defined the meaning of freedom fighters. For example, they have the meaning of different meaning of they have their own meaning of jihad, war. They have their own meaning of freedom fighters. So what they mean by freedom fighter, you have to go for this. We have the different meaning of freedom fighters or freedom fight or something like that, like Bangladesh, India. In Indian people got the independence from British Raj, so they have the different meaning of freedom fighters. As far as I know, the Taliban got the meaning, got the definition of freedom fighting or freedom fight as the point of the view of view of Islam, because they are Islamists, so they have the different meaning of freedom fighter, freedom fight, whatsoever. So I'm not going into in details about it. So I go to my point that I put down, please? Okay. Two issues here from your title, the Afghan crisis. I'm going to discuss about the Afghan crisis. Will Pakistan invade Afghanistan? No. In my opinion, Pakistan will never invade Afghanistan. It is completely my opinion. You may be disagreement in my it may be in disagreement with my opinion. So you could ask me why Pakistan is not going to attack or invade Afghanistan, because Pakistan, the entire country is on fire now at the moment. Pakistan is a grave situation. Pakistan is in grave situation economically, financially, socially. Last week, I think last night, I watched some videos about Pakistan crisis. Pakistani government even not buying any more teas, tea cup of teas from other countries, and the Pakistan government asks Pakistani people to have one cup of tea a day. Can you imagine? And Pakistani government instructed official people to turn the light off after 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. You know what I mean? Can you imagine?
Well, these are all sounding to me a very good reason to attack Afghanistan.
Okay, now
When a country is domestic,
okay.
if I may,
But
one second,
let me finish, Mr. Mufasil Islam.
one second,
So,
one second.
okay.
Whenever a country, we have seen in history, is domestically in trouble, the government will try to divert the attention of the common people by attacking, if they can, another foreign power or interfering with another foreign.
I am agree with you. I agree with your opinion. But however, I have to find out. I have to find out if Pakistan got means to attack Afghanistan financially. Can Pakistan finance a war to invade Afghanistan?
They need to finance, because they will be helped by financing.
Okay, how they
by the West. America.
Okay, I understand, Mr. Mufasil Islam. You got a valid point, valid reason to discuss
This
about
will
it.
rather bolster Pakistani armed forces.
Okay, I understand, Mr. Mufasil Islam. But however, Pakistan is unlikely to invade Afghanistan. You know why?
Why?
You may say America promised, or America comforted Pakistan, stating that Pakistan got every right to defend itself. But
Yes.
did America say they are going to help Pakistan out
Yes.
with this war?
Yes. I will tell you how. Indirectly, because obviously, as we know, Pakistan is entrusted with many of the defense mechanism of Middle Eastern countries, and United Arab Emirates already giving a check to Pakistan proves that. Now the question, if that's the case, and USA has serious interest in the Middle East, including their allies there, and they want Pakistan to remain strong, otherwise they can't do their job. Impossible.
Okay, they can't do their job, but you see,
enough to say that Pakistan has right to defend. That's good enough to say, because that's how it starts always.
if sorry, I know America said Pakistan got every right to defend. Yeah. Now, you will see in the future if it is going to happen. I'm not going. In my opinion,
I mean,
Pakistan is.
with all the, if you're saying if in future, I mean, I will have to interview there again, because even now, when the BBC is airing the Modi question, and India is not wholeheartedly supporting the West, the NATO against Russia, and Pakistan historically is always proven to be a great ally with the West, even during our own liberation war. So Pakistan will never be sacrificed by the West when they are in trouble. So that makes me believe that if Afghanistan, Pakistan knowing Afghanistan very well, and Major Muhammad Ali said it very clearly, they're already there.
Okay, Mr. Mufasil Islam. Mr. Mufasil Islam, one more point. Pakistan is very well aware of Afghan people.
What the Afghan people will do when
Okay,
after
but
the valiant history of Afghanistan.
I understand, but Pakistani people are well aware of Afghani people's nature. Pakistan know very well if Afghanistan is being invaded by Pakistan.
Okay, give
Then
me one example when where Afghanistani Taliban or Mujahideen became so powerful without the help of
I'm coming. I'm coming to this
never.
point.
Always Pakistan make them powerful. Always.
Okay, I'm coming to this point. I will discuss about it. But my point is, if if Afghanistan is attacked by Pakistan, then Pakistan will have to face the serious consequence of attacking Afghanistan. Okay, let me.
Not in a position to attack Pakistan
So,
because
no,
the
so my
they
point
don't
is, Mr.
have
Mufasil
support.
Islam.
They don't have any international support. It is not like
Okay,
Iran.
even though if it is international, look, international community couldn't survive in Afghanistan. Let me make another point. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how India is handling Islamic fundamentalist? I mean, Islamic fundamentalist like Taliban. India is still safe from Afghani Taliban or Afghanistani terrorist. You know,
No. India is always blaming Pakistan.
no, that's
Even the
different thing.
even the hotel Taj bomb.
I said India's foreign policy with
India wants to make friends with Afghanistan.
no
Because
India was friend to India was friend to Afghanistan for a long time because India has its own interest
India
in
is
protecting.
India is in the plans of issuing e-visa to
Okay,
Taliban.
but ask each of ask like Afghani people. 99%, 90%. I said 90%, 99. I don't say 99. 90% Afghan young boys or young people support India. You know why? Because India is helping out Afghanistan with construction, building things, building bridges, this sort of things.
So
It may be eyewash,
even
but
that even gives more premises for Pakistan to worry about Afghanistan
yeah,
sleeping
yeah.
with their hand
But why India is helping Afghanistan?
because of the
Because
Beluch issue. So they can make a Beluch issue.
they are Kashmir,
Can make a
they,
problem.
they want to protect. They want to protect their Jammu Kashmir from Taliban or whoever. See, Taliban fall out with India recently, soon after they came to power. But India somehow managed. They even though they are not happy with Indian Hindu fanatic government, but they have less interest in India.
Okay.
Then
Move on to, thank you very much. We'll come back to you. Let's go move on to Mr. Rajak Hawladar.
Mr. Mufasil, let me finish.
Mr. Udin, I will come back to you in a minute.
Okay, thank you.
We are going to Mr. Rajak Hawladar, who was a valiant freedom fighter in our 1971 liberation war. Mr. Hawladar, he's a retired lawyer, an author, and a scholar in the field of literature and liberation war of Bangladesh. He wrote profusely. He also hails from a family of 6 veteran freedom fighters 5 of his other brothers were freedom fighters as well. I don't know of any Bangladeshi family who had 6 valiant freedom fighters from one family, and all of them wrote books. Mr. Halada, welcome to the show. Please unmute your microphone. Thank you. Right. Thank you. Mr. Halada, I will be again. I have to begin with the same question. I do apologize if it's annoying, but that needs to be addressed. Because on one issue, many of the Bangladeshis think Taliban to be freedom fighters, at least many of us. And also they are extremists. And also Pakistan map, which I think the map is questionable. I still, as a researcher, I would say it's a questionable map, for the least. Do you think, taking all this into consideration, Pakistan has a serious reason to meddle inside Afghanistan for their own self-defense? And secondly, do the Taliban, even TTP, do they have any valid claim to any of the territories of Pakistan? I understand they are not making an official claim, but their activities are showing they are not happy with Pakistan. The Taliban are not happy with Pakistan. What do you think the future is of the Taliban?
Well, I thank you very much, Mr. Mufassir Islam, to invite me. I am not a scholar, but still I have some practical experiences of war and for liberation war as a freedom fighter. You cleared it off that whole family was a freedom fighter. And first of all, to tell anything before, I salute first from the core of my heart to the father of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and the martyrs and the freedom fighters of our country. I salute everybody and I welcome and my greetings to Mr. Durrani, Mr. Jamal Hussain, and Mr. Muhammad Ali, retired Major, and Mr. Amanuddin. And I thank you very much. But first question about freedom fight. In this respect, I'll not call them freedom fighter. Freedom fighter, I'll give you the clarification. Freedom fighter, we were freedom fighter, we wanted to liberate a country. If we wanted to eradicate or to driven out from our any occupant soldier, just to driven out, or any invader, that is not a freedom fight. So from Afghanistan, if they driven out foreign occupant soldiers, that cannot be, in my view, that they cannot be freedom fighters. It should be for a completely for a liberation to liberate their own land from.
So liberation, they were liberators at least.
Yes. No, they are not liberators. No,
They are not
no, freedom fighter and liberator. These are they wanted to get rid of the elements who came their country and doing things which they are ordered, and they took their freedom. They took their freedom. They interfere everywhere. They controlled everything, but they did not take their land. No. So that I will not, in this respect, you might have some other opinion, but I will not call them.
They were creating green zone, that zone. Their army officers were patrolling the street of Kabul, and you are still saying they didn't take the land. How is that?
No, they did Afghanistan ever told that we are fighting for freedom?
What were they shooting to America against Americans then? Just
yes, but that does not mean they have that was a free land. Afghanistan was a
the question, if that's the free land, who were Americans and the British to occupy certain parts of Afghanistan to say this is a green zone, this is that zone, this is this zone, and you don't come here?
No, this is the oil. That can be done.
Who were they to check? No, who were they? Who were they to come after attacking that Afghanistan and then patrolling the streets of Afghanistan? And then they're saying, sorry, we are going to install a government by, okay, I understand an effort of democracy. I understand all that. As I said, Taliban are extremists in many sense, and I agree with that. But at the same time, you are denying them of the glory of liberators. How is that possible? I mean, the country was
Okay, excuse
the country
me.
had foreign soldiers in their land against. I mean, was there a referendum? Was there any Afghani government who had invited the British and the Americans to come and patrol their streets?
Well, let me tell about this. Did the
Surprised,
host,
Mr.
did the
Halal.
host, did American, did Russia, did any invaders hosted their own flag?
Yes, yes, they did.
Where?
Yes, they did.
In Afghanistan.
When the Humvees,
Did they give any name? Did they give any name?
I mean,
Did
giving,
they give any name?
I am
No.
giving an example. Every American general, American politician who were there visiting their army camps inside Afghanistan, including Prince Harry from England, who in his recent book said that he obviously killed more than 24 of Afghanis. The question is, who had authorized him to carry this attack? I mean, imagine you being a valiant fighter. You don't see that. I mean, I'm surprised that I understand we all have, I mean, all of us probably agreement that Taliban's ways are extremists and they're fanatic in many sense. And they did violate human rights in many sense, including closing down the educational institutions from women to enter. I mean, from women entering. Now, that's a separate issue. Human rights violation, I mean, religious extremism. So they now, if the second agenda is to liberate or to take back part of Pakistan, which were taken away from them in 1879 under duress by the British, and the map was drawn, which Afghanistan always objected. Now, if they say, sorry, this is our land, don't they have a valid claim? And even I don't have to say, I mean, you don't have to say it that, you know what, I'm waging war against Pakistan. But everybody knows it. When the sun shines, you don't have to say the sun is up. My question comes very clearly. Foreign powers, foreign soldiers. Imagine you going to Dhaka, seeing Indian forces, not hoisting any Indian flag, walking the streets. That happened in Bangladesh in 1973, 74. And we know very well about the history of Rakhi Bahini, who were under the command of Major Reddy of India. And Bangladeshis didn't like it. You liberators didn't like it. So under whatever premises, a foreign power coming to topple another government, I mean, that government can be rogue, but there's foreign intervention. And after 20 years, Afghani people are saying, we want democracy, yes. We want human rights, yes. We want freedom of speech, yes. We want freedom of religion, yes. But we don't want our land to have foreign soldiers. So who helped them against it, except Taliban?
Was there any Afghan government by that time? U.S. troops were in Afghanistan.
Yes.
Hamid
Yes.
Karzai.
But those are all poodle governments.
Okay, just 1 second, please. Hamid Karzai. Hamid Karzai was the president of
after
Afghanistan, and Hamid Karzai was elected by the majority people of Afghanistan.
Who told you that?
If Hamid Karzai
who told you that? Mr. Amanuddin, where did you get your data from? Because most of the territories of Afghanistan were under the control of Taliban. Do you think the Taliban were happy in carrying out these votes? Where did you get?
How come Hamid Karzai was an Ashraf Ghani? Hamid Karzai
were all poodles.
were elected.
Poodles.
Huh?
They're all poodles.
No,
I
but they were elected by Afghan people.
what election?
Well, let me finish, please.
Go on.
Okay, we had while the British was reigning the Indian subcontinent, and since 1930s, there were some revolutionary in Bangladesh, which is called Swadeshi. Later on, they were called Swadeshis. It means they were revolutionaries, but they were not freedom fighters. See, same thing lies in Afghanistan.
Why
Whoever invited them, who made the demarcation line, who made the green line, that is
No, Mr. Abdul Razak, 1 second. Here, Mr. Major Muhammad Ali's own father was a valiant freedom fighter. Am I right, Mr. Ali?
Yeah.
But your father also fought under Major Jia. Am I right?
No, General Shofullah.
Okay, Shafiullah. Even if you say Shafiullah, well, my facts say something else. But anyway, even if I'll give credit to that, Shafiullah is not very much liked now by Sheikh Hasina. So does it mean that Shafiullah, who betrayed our father of the country, who betrayed us, 1975, 15th of August. So does it mean that you will deny Shafiullah of his
No, I don't deny that.
Okay,
but regarding Taliban and freedom fighters of Afghanistan, this is clear to me.
Talibans, if the Talibans say they have a, you are saying, Amaruddin is saying about Hamid Karzai, Abdur Rahman Khan, Mr. Durrani, please correct me if I'm wrong. Abdur Rahman Khan was installed by the British after 1980 massacre. Am I right? Unmute your microphone, please. Unmute your microphone. Unmute, please. Unmute. I can't hear you.
The British played a major role because Afghanistan in that time was in civil war, and the British supported him to overpower his opponents.
Supported him. Abdur Rahman, the British supported him.
Yeah,
Mr. Duranai, if I may give my point, Mr. Abdur Rahman Khan, all this turmoil, so-called turmoil, was created by the British.
It was created by the British, and it was created by the Russian also, and it was created by the Iranians, the Persians. There was no Iran at that time.
Yeah, the foreigners create the trouble.
Yes.
And then they say, you know what? To solve your trouble, we're going to install someone, a poodle.
Yeah, but the British already had a lesson from Shah Shuja. When they wanted to install Shah Shuja, they knew what happened. So this time what they did was they approached it from a different perspective. They approached it from a perspective where at least for the general public in Afghanistan, this person, Abdurrahman Khan, looked to be independent and had a free hand to govern internally.
Without any practical power anyway.
No, he had practical power, but he didn't have foreign power was in the hands of the British. He didn't have any foreign policy.
Foreign power is if your foreign relationship is in the hands of another country, you are
exactly. So in that respect, Afghanistan wasn't a free country in that time. That's why there was the War of Independence in 1919.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So basically, he was a poodle.
Okay, the adjectives can vary from how you look at it.
Right. Okay. There are some constraints, I guess. All right. Coming to Mr. Uddin, you wanted to add some more point, Mr. Uddin. Then I will go to Mr. Jamal Hassan. Mr. Jamal Hassan, you'll be next, please, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mufassil Islam, giving me a chance again.
Yes.
So let's get back to the point from the title, The Afghan Crisis. Will Afghanistan invade Afghanistan? So I'm going to shed the light on these two issues. So I got the point down. So let me tell you. So let's get to the point. Since America's independence on Pakistan has almost disappeared after the U.S. military exit from Afghanistan, Pakistan start facing multiple challenges at home. Okay, so after then, Pakistan is no longer a frontline state in fighting terrorism. Okay, So why it is happening? Another point I found out last night. The point is Pakistan misguided Afghan policies continue to stoke Islamic radicalists at home and challenges the state authority. So Pakistan wasn't able to make any lasting peace with Afghanistan. Okay, lasting peace with Afghanistan. You remember this. Now let's go back. Let's start with the let's talk about the TTP. Okay, TTP is a terrorist organization in Pakistan. Now, TTP recently fallout.
Who said they were terrorists?
Okay, let me finish Mufasil Islam.
Pakistan, because US had designated them as terrorists because of the
Okay, we'll come back to the point.
Times Square bombing alert. Is that right?
Okay, we'll discuss about it. We'll have interactive conversation. Let me get back to the point again, please, if you allow me.
Okay.
So TTP fallout with ISI for its activities, right? So
Not really.
okay, you will make your point. Yeah, afterward. Okay, so TTP helped Taliban to come back to the power. Okay, so now TTP is a big threat to Pakistan authority. They are attacking Pakistan security. They are demanding to have freedom for what is it called, Pakhtun or Peshawar, or whatever call it. Okay, so this TTP want 2 or 3 more things from Pakistan. Okay, number one, enforce Sharia law in Pakistan, which they want it. Okay, number two, support Taliban in Afghanistan. Support Taliban in Pakistan as well as in Afghanistan.
Okay.
So my point is, Mufasil Islam Bhai, Mr. Duranai, Jamal Hassan, Rajak Haldar, and Major Muhammad Ali, or dear viewer. Yeah, okay. My point is, if you have a snake in your backyard, you must know that the snake will get in your house. And
we are calling the Taliban now the snake.
I think so. Is Taliban a snake? If Taliban is in my country, in Bangladesh, for example,
what are the Taliban's demanding, which Pakistan is already not trying to pursue? For example,
my point. Let me finish this point. Okay, thank you for reminding me, Mufasil Islam, Mr. Mufasil Islam. Now, Pakistan is responsible for its own fortune, because Pakistan, America found out what's his name, Osama bin Laden hiding. Osama bin Laden wasn't captured. Osama bin Laden.
Who created Osama bin Laden?
We'll discuss about it. I'm coming to the point. I'm not finished yet, Mr. Mufasil. I got this point.
We are not still free to talk, even on social media.
Okay, Mr. Mufasil Islam, let me finish, please. Okay. Pakistan helped Afghan Taliban, right? So Pakistan was responsible for nourishing this snake. Yeah. And this snake is
calling the Taliban snake. I don't understand.
Okay, this is a metaphor anyway.
Even Americans don't call Taliban snake anymore.
I'm coming to this point. This point. I got this point as well. Now, what's happening in Pakistan now at the moment? Pakistan is responsible for this. Pakistan ISI is responsible for this. TTP is responsible for this. And the rise in TTP comes from Pakistani authority as well, because they help out Pakistan. Pakistan got misguided and wrong foreign policy with India based on, in terms of Kashmir issue, in terms of Afghan issue, and Pakistan. Let me finish. Pakistan got wrong foreign policy with Afghanistan as well. So Pakistan Pakistan is in a grave situation for its own.
I mean, other I can see that Taliban don't
Okay.
like.
And you said America. I'm coming to the point, this point as well. I think I'm rushing into this because other people have to talk.
We are running out of time.
Okay,
Yes.
running out of the time. When I saw Taliban in NASA building when Ronald Reagan was in power, I was shocked. I was shocked to see them because these mullahs were not supposed to be in NASA building because they don't know the science or whatsoever. But they were invited to the NASA building because just because America wants to topple down.
Does American government have any policy against Mullahism?
They have policy against mullahism just to serve their purpose in Afghanistan. They didn't want Soviet. Sorry,
1971 liberation war in Bangladesh.
they didn't want Russia in Afghanistan. So they had wrong policy. And I'm not saying anything about America on this platform. I don't want to.
Jefferson doctrine anyway. If you want.
Okay. And secondly, I'm talking about Afghanistan as well. What is happening in Afghanistan now? Yeah, Afghan people are responsible for this because Taliban came to the power with the support of vast majority Afghan people as well. So everybody is responsible for everything.
I mean, what do you expect a community to do? Who are being, bombed, who are being shot at by foreign powers for more than decades.
Okay, there are some sources.
Sorry, sir. They're America recently, since even they left Afghanistan, they are not into any pragmatic development again. Now they have pumped in already $700 some million into Afghanistan already, so that it doesn't become a failed country. America cannot obviously block any IMF effort or currency conversion or in any kind of impediment, so that Afghanistan cannot engage in international business. So they are allowing all that so that Taliban government.
Who do they not allow? America.
The country.
America allows anything for its own interest.
Right.
That's a simple thing. Just 1 second, I'm coming to the end. Afghan people misfortune. There are some people. There are some powers are responsible for this. Responsible. Number 1, America. Number 2, Russia. Number 3, Pakistan. Number 4, Taliban. Number 5, Afghan people. They are all responsible for the situation of Afghanistan. This is my point of view.
I mean, it's okay for you to blame Afghan people. Only
why I'm blaming Afghan people? Why? Because Afghan people support Taliban. That's why they came to power.
They're the only liberators.
No, the liberated by whom? When Taliban. Let me say one thing. The Ashraf Ghani was elected by Afghan people, but Afghan government has more soldiers than Taliban.
Because the soldiers were paid.
How come Afghan soldiers didn't fight Taliban? Taliban
they were not
easily took over the government. Easily took over the power.
Mr. Duranai was
Can I make a few comments on this? I would like to mention a few elements. One of them is that in my presentations, when I have my blogs or when I discuss in any kind of discussions, I advise people not to be stuck in the past, but to have a clear vision of where they want to go.
Okay, coming to the future of Taliban, please.
Okay, where they want to go, and then focus on how to reach there. Having said that, it's interesting how people who are not from Afghanistan area, how they look at this situation. I look at it, from an academic point of view, as very interesting perspective. Afghans generally don't look at it that way. Just having said that, Afghanistan, for 44 years of fighting. After 44 years of fighting, you could say that Afghanistan is a divided country. There are people that have different opinions about the future as well as the past of Afghanistan and the present and where it should go. And those differences have not yet been resolved. And we hope that it will not lead into another round of fighting to resolve those differences, and they can be resolved through peaceful dialogue. The other item that what I wanted to mention was, you referred to a time where the British were supporting Abdurrahman Khan, and they were giving him every year stipend, 600,000
Yes.
rupees every year for them. But the Americans are now paying stipend to the Taliban, $40 million every week. Now, is that a reparation of war or what is it? So these are some of the issues that have to be looked at. The other issue that I look at it geostrategically is the rival in Asia for the United States, is it China or India? And if it is China, then Americans have the possibility of getting closer to India strategically, thus reducing the influence of Pakistan. And if that happens, what will be good for the interest of China is to have all the Pashtun areas of Pakistan become part of Afghanistan, and then they have through the Wakhan corridor access to Gwadar, or to leave the current instability there. This is an important element that I want to mention, is that of all the countries in the Middle East or anywhere in the world, I would like to say, where there are multiple ethnicities within the same political structure, I think Afghanistan is number one that has kept the cohesion. After 44 years of fighting, the geography is still intact, and the 5 or 6 major ethnic groups that live in Afghanistan have still preserved those connections in the geography at the people level. Maybe not in the top corrupt leadership level, but at the people level, they have kept it. If there is a 44-year fighting in any other country with multiple ethnicities, that country will be cut into pieces, including the United States, including Canada, including Pakistan, including Iran, any of countries with 44 years of war. And there has been 44 years of war in Afghanistan. It kept its geography. It even kept its political system, whether it was under republic or under the emirate or under the monarchy. So these are some realities that anybody who wants to play anymore with Afghanistan have to be aware of the fact that, as some people have referred to them, that Afghanistan is the graveyard of invaders. That's what happened to the British, that happened to the Russians, and now some historians most probably will say it to the Americans also. But what do the Afghans want? I think Afghans don't want Afghanistan to be the graveyard of invaders, but they want it to be an orchard for Afghans. What we call it, not a Qabristan or Goristan, but a Gulistan for the Afghans, where all the Afghans can live in peace and prosperity and brotherhood. And if whichever system, whether it's the Tehrik-e-Taliban or whether it's a popularly elected government that can create that kind of a situation, in my opinion, that will be the biggest ripple effect that Afghanistan can do for South Central Asia.
Thank you. Mr. Jamal Hassan, your words about the future of Taliban, please, and also it should be your last words. And I do apologize for my viewers. I'm going to take 2 minutes break. And in the meantime, Mr. Jamal Hassan, you take it away. Thank you.
Okay. I tend to agree with Mr. Amanuddin. Yes, but I would not give the terminology snake. I would rather say it's like a virus. It's not a snake, it's a virus. Unfortunately, snake can bite you and can harm you, can finish you.
Mr. Jamal Hassan, is it coronavirus or any other virus?
This virus is infectious, People sometimes unknowingly get infected. People sometimes knowingly get infected. Do you get my point? So when you said it's a snake in the backyard, I don't think it's a snake, it's a virus. And Mr. Duranai, I tend to agree with most of your premises, excepting I don't expect, what I call it, basically, I don't expect some splendid things from evildoers. So I'm not a great optimistic in something getting Gulistan promulgated by the TTPs. TTP is a bad entity. Yes, it's a virus in a sense, because again, going back to Amanuddin, TTP doesn't have to bite somebody, but TTP can infect somebody and enlarge its constituency. And regarding the invasion of Pakistan in Afghanistan soil, you can see what's going on with recently the Chinese balloon, U.S.-China relationship, and I agree 100%, 100% with Mr. Duranai with the Chinese ambition and vis-a-vis India-China, India-U.S. relationship in the forthcoming years. Yes, U.S. will be more connected, more have a strategic relationship with India rather than Pakistan. And we have a big war going on in Ukraine. In that, you have to remember billions of dollars being spent. And if somebody thinks that Mr. Current President of present government of Pakistan will indulge in war, thinking that the West will have the big pocketbook. No, not at all, because it's not a big priority. I agree with Amanuddin 100% that West and the USA will not bother about that, what's going on there, will not support any war. So in a sense, it's a good news. We don't want any war. Mr. Duranai, we don't want another war, another Goristan or Kabaristan in Afghanistan. So let's hope for peace. And I believe in evolution and reformation. Today, tomorrow, whole world is changing, and things cannot stay static. Things cannot stay in a stone age. It has to change. And we see the people and what's happening in Iran, for example. And you were talking about ripple effect, Mr. Duranai. What's happening in Iran will have ripple effect in neighboring Afghanistan. So that's my last word. Thank you.
Mr. Ali, is Afghanistan a failed state? That's your last word, or if you want to add something else? Mr. Ali.
Unmute, please.
Yeah. Can you hear me, Mr. Ali?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Is Afghanistan a failed state, and what is the future of Taliban? Your last words, please.
If you ask me, it's my personal opinion. We have to wait for more 3 years to declare it's a failed state or not, because it's still a lot of politics going on inside the country, outside the country, inside neighboring the countries. There are Americans, Chinese, Indians, Pakistani. Everybody is playing with this country. So we have to wait for more 3 years. After that, we can come to a deduction. It's a failed state or not. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Mr. Halodar, your last words, please.
I'm a human being, and I have humanity, all kinds of humanity in my mind. I want peace of the world, though that is too far, but there should be peace and happiness in Afghanistan, Pakistan, everywhere in the world. Then we will be happy. So I don't want any war, and I see nobody is attacking or nobody is invading other countries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Amanuddin, your last words, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mufasil Islam, giving me another opportunity. First of all, I thank all the guest here, we were in disagreement with some other issues, but basically we touched the point. Mr. Duranai, you said very well. Mr. Jamal Hussein, you did well. You got the point. And Rajak Haldar, and wonderful presentation from Mr. Mufasil Islam. It's a nice program. We hope we get other international program. Major Muhammad Ali, I'm slightly in disagreement with you. You said you have to wait for another 3 years to the result of Taliban's regime. I said I say you don't have to wait for 3 years. Even if you wait for seeing the result of Taliban regime or Sharia law, you have to wait for till Qiyamot. You understand? Now the point is with Sharia law, you cannot develop any country. It will go down and down and downhill. You see the recent result, recent revelation from Iran. Iranian people are trying to come out with the Sharia law. What is it called? Saudi Arab was failing to keep up with the modern world. Let me finish, please. Soon after Saudi Prince Salman realized that it's not going to work because it didn't work for 40 years or whatever. So you don't have to go that far, Major Muhammad Ali. I'm sorry if you are not in agreement with me.
Sharia has no future.
You don't need to see the future. In Afghanistan, women are selling their own kids for money. That's what I heard under the Taliban regime. So we don't have to wait for 3 years. We start seeing the result of Taliban regime. They are shutting down everything. Women's education, everything. They are backward people. You understand? So I hope there is no war between Afghanistan.
Trying to say, as Taliban are trying to follow the orthodox, strict
orthodox Islamic,
they have no future, basically. Right. Okay. Your last words, Mr. Duranai, please.
Thank you.
So
the question was whether the future for Taliban, and I will say that the thought process and the mindset of the Taliban existed before the Taliban became a physical entity, and it will exist after the physical entity may persist or may disappear, but the thought will persist in that part of the world, and that it's difficult to eliminate the thought. In that respect, it is important. And what is important for the area is that both Pakistan and Afghanistan and the other parts of the world in South Central Asia have to pay attention to the fact that there are three forces to reckon with. There is the TTP, there is the Islamic Emirate, and there is the PTM. We never talked about the PTM, but the PTM, which is the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement by Manzoor Pashtun. If these three groups come together, then the whole dynamics of the area is going to change. Currently, these are on a collision course. But if they come together, then all the area of the South Central Asia has to be aware that it's going to be a completely different dynamics. And I will end with that.
Thank you very much, everybody. All of you, your guests who were.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Our next international seminar will be on the Myanmar issue. We'll have guests coming from expatriate migrant and expatriate Myanmar activists and Rohingya activists from Bangladesh as well. See you next week, Sunday at 10 p.m. Bangladesh. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello.